Hello YouTube, I'm David Frankel.
And I'm Jenny M.
And this is Salford Crescent. We've got our bikes and today we are cycling the Bury line, but not that Bury line, the original Bury line. Welcome to Lost Railways of Manchester. Welcome back to Lost Railways of Manchester. In today's double episode, we'll be covering the Clifton to Radcliffe and the Radcliffe and Bury to Bolton routes. Starting at Clifton, we'll be exploring the original Bury line, which predated the route via Cheetham Hill we're familiar with today, which opened in 1879. It started at Clifton Junction, with stations at Moline Brow, Wringley Road and Radcliffe Bridge, joining onto today's Bury line north of Radcliffe. A station known as Within's Lane briefly existed at this point, but it closed in 1851. The Clifton to Radcliffe route was originally constructed by the Manchester Bury and Rossendale Railway Company, which would become part of the East Lancashire Railway Company, and it opened in 1846. There was also a section of track linking Clifton Junction to the Liverpool and Manchester Railway at Patricroft, which we haven't covered in this video. One notable feature of this line was the Clifton Hall Tunnel, which collapsed in 1953, tragically killing 5 people. So the railway line we're looking for starts at Clifton, but to get to Clifton we're cycling along this, which is part of the disused Manchester Bury and Bolton Canal. As you can see, not very navigable looking, although there is still water in bits of it. So the route we're following today starts here at Clifton, or rather Clifton Junction, as it was. This is the Manchester, Bolton, Chorley, Preston line, and it diverged actually just before the station, so it would have come off around there, and I think there must have been a second set of platforms on the lines towards Radcliffe. Clifton station today is still here, but I think it's served by like 1 or 2 trains a day, so don't wait for a train here. Better off on your bike. Bin bag blowing in the breeze. So to cross the River Irwell, we're crossing here on this old aqueduct which carried the Manchester Bury and Bolton Canal over the Irwell. The canal did also continue in this direction, at which point it became the Fletcher's Canal. As you can see, all of this is long since abandoned, but this is still in use as a footbridge, which is very convenient for us. After separating from Clifton Junction, the line crosses the Irwell on the Clifton Viaduct, also known locally as the 13 Arches. So this is the abandoned Clifton Viaduct in all its glory. Actually looks like it's in a pretty good state. So here I am on Clifton Viaduct, which is definitely not open to the public. But it's also not very securely closed. I'm not going to try and walk all the way back over the Irwell, but you can just about get onto it and appreciate your height and look down. Hopefully one day this will be opened up as a proper cycleway.
Down and up. See if I rotate it.
So just across the M60 we pick up the official outward trail, so we can now cycle directly on the old line to Radcliffe. And this is the site of our first station, Moline Brow, which according to Wikipedia was completely destroyed by the M60. So no trace of it, but this is where it was. So we have found the remains of Wringley Road railway station. Apparently there were 2 platforms, but only one of them still can be seen. So we've made it to delightful Radcliffe, and roughly where this McDonald's, this Asda petrol station now are, was the site of Radcliffe Bridge railway station. So here the original Bury line joined on to what is now the Bury line, the route from Cheetham Hill, which was added later, and elsewhere in Radcliffe is Radcliffe Central Station, which is now just called Radcliffe. Moline Brow, Wringley Road and Radcliffe Bridge stations closed in 1931, 1953 and 1958 respectively, with the line itself finally closing in 1966 under the Beeching Acts, with trains continuing to serve Bury via the Cheetham Hill route until that line's conversion to Metrolink in the early 1990s. Most of the old route within Radcliffe town centre has been concreted over and turned into the Pilkington Way. There's also this section of unnamed green space which we didn't know about at the time, so here's a street view off Google Maps instead. So we've found Radcliffe Central Railway Station, which is now just Radcliffe tram stop.
Oh, not more.
We join the delightfully named Banana Path, which is the start of our second disused railway of the video. The former Liverpool and Bury Railway line between Bury and Bolton, which first opened in 1848, with the southern branch to Radcliffe opening along with the rest of the Cheetham Hill route in 1879. The line closed in 1970. Within Radcliffe was a complex set of junctions and curves, with today's Metrolink route shown in yellow and the Clifton-Radcliffe line we've already covered shown in blue. In red you can see the line towards Bolton, with curves down towards Cheetham Hill and up to Bury. So we've met up with an old friend, the Manchester Bury and Bolton Canal, and here we have not one but 2 old bridges, one of which is still a bridge, across here. So this is the line, so both join up just over there and head off towards Bolton, which is the line we're following. This track went south towards Manchester via Cheetham Hill, and this track went curved north towards Bury. So I stand corrected, this bridge was not the railway bridge. The railway bridge on the sort of Bolton towards Bury curve is apparently this one down here. What's left of it. Not entirely obvious what the railway was crossing at this point, but it looks like a bridge.
No, it's fine.
We find the site of Ainsworth Road Halt, which was added to the route in 1918. No trace of the station remains, though the housing estate which has been built here pays homage to the local station. So we found what we think is the site of Radcliffe Black Lane railway station. You can see here the road kind of rises up to cross the railway line. That no longer exists, and a lot of the railways through this area of northern Radcliffe have been built over, so the trails are not continuous. We're going to try and find our way towards Bury before doubling back and heading towards Bolton. Hello. Which way to Bury? So we have reached Bury. You can now look down and see the East Lancashire Railway. Looking over there is Bury Bolton Street. See a train there about to depart. Here our disused railway joins onto what is now the East Lancashire Heritage Railway, which connects to the Calder Valley line on the National Rail network at a delta junction near Castleton. The former Knowsley Street station was located where the ELR crosses over what is now the Metrolink. No trace of it remains today. This crossing has some interesting history in itself. Passenger trains from Manchester via Cheetham Hill were redirected from their then terminus at Bury Bolton Street to a new Bury interchange in 1980, which is today Bury Tram Stop. At the time, the part of the old Liverpool and Bury Railway which ran east to west was still in use by occasional coal trains which headed up towards Rawtenstall, and so a flat crossing was constructed at the site of Bury Knowsley Street Station, which looked like this. Coal trains ended and the line fell out of use just months later, with the flat crossing soon being removed. When the East Lancashire Heritage Railway wanted to extend their services to Heywood, the flat crossing had to be replaced as heavy steam trains were not permitted to cross trams on what was now the Metrolink, and so it was replaced with a new purpose-built overbridge known as the Ski Jump. What little remained of the old Knowsley Street station was either obliterated or buried under a multi-storey car park next door. If you hop on an East Lancashire Railway train heading from Heywood towards Bury Bolton Street and look out of the left window, you can see where the line used to continue towards Bolton as you curve into Bolton Street Station. Very south junction. Technical name for it. With that done, we double back towards Bolton.
Between that bridge and the other bit. It's so easy to do.
So we've reached the Queen's, which is a pub, but obviously we're interested in the old railway, and this is the site of Bradley Fold railway station. Doesn't look like there's anything much of it left. Soon we reached the most exciting part of the old railway, the enormous lattice girder viaduct at Darcy Lever. And here it is from the ground below, the Darcy Lever viaduct. That is just an unbelievable structure. And it's just crazy that this is an old abandoned railway and they've just left this here. Like usually this would have been long gone, demolished. But for some reason this viaduct is still here and is still used by cyclists going up and down. And here we have the site of Darcy Lever railway station. Unlike the viaduct, there's absolutely nothing left of it and it's not particularly impressive. A similar, smaller viaduct crosses St Peter's Way just outside of Bolton town centre. And the line rejoins the mainline railway here at Bolton Trinity Street Station, or as it's just known today, Bolton. Well, that was Clifton to Radcliffe and Radcliffe and Bury to Bolton. If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe. Subscribe to Jen.
Goodbye, internet.
Thank you for watching.